This and all talks at the 2019 JavaScript for WordPress Conference are brought to you in part by our sponsors Pantheon, a high-performance hosting platform with agile developer tools. Check them out at pantheon.io. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the conference. Here, we are going to continue on with our Headless JavaScript track, and I'm really excited about this next presenter. Hristo from SiteGround is someone who I've got to know personally over the years, a really smart dude, really kind fellow, and we're going to hear about some actual implementations of some of the stuff we've been learning about. So over at SiteGround, they revamped their knowledge base and tutorials section, and Hristo is going to give you a walkthrough of what that looks like and some of the information that they've learned about that, some of the higher-arching stuff. So without further ado, my friend, let me bring you up on screen here. Say hello, tell the folks a little bit about yourself, and then we'll get rolling.
Hello and good evening to everyone. It's evening here, and I guess good morning, good day, whenever you are. I hope you're enjoying the conference so far. I'm sure that Zach has brought up some people smarter than me, and you're gonna hear a lot of nice and interesting things. About me, my name is Hristo Pandjarov. I am manager of WordPress initiatives at SiteGround. And as my job title says, I basically manage everything in terms of our WordPress product for both our customers and our internal use. I'm going to share a few slides. It has been relatively quiet when it comes to new stuff from SiteGround for the past year. And the reason behind that is that we've been working on quite a few things very heavily for the past 2 years, and our tutorials and knowledge base mini websites that traditionally are very popular in the internet became part of that rework. Some background, we started basically maintaining a knowledge base WordPress website. Actually, right in the beginning, it wasn't even a WordPress. We migrated to WordPress a year or two later. And it was basically a list of questions that our support team was answering very often, like how to point my domain name, how to install Mambo back then. And this piled up to one of the probably biggest collections of knowledge about different aspects of the hosting environment and WordPress and other open source web applications. Back then, even after the migration from WordPress, from that other software, I don't even remember what was it. We still had few small issues here and there, but everything was cool. We had that website, we maintained it. More and more people were adding content to it, so everything was working perfectly fine. On top of that, we started ranking very well on Google, so that knowledge base started bringing a lot of traffic to our website. And then we decided to do one step further, and we opened another micro website, another WordPress installation for SiteGround tutorials. Tutorials, articles in the knowledge base, for us, the differentiation is that when we build tutorials, we tend to create more step-by-step guides, more visuals. We use more pictures, while articles tend to be a simple answer to a simple question. Then two websites, still it was okay. Although we had some issues linking and deciding whether one content should be an article or a tutorial, but that was still not an issue. Then SiteGround went multilingual. We opened an office in Spain, and we had a whole new team of people working on many different things, including content creation. So those two websites turned into 4 websites. So we cloned everything, had people translate the content into Spanish. Fast forward another year later, we expanded into Italy and have SiteGround working in Italian too. And we ended up with 6 standalone WordPress installations because, as you can probably suspect it, we had to clone our knowledge base and tutorial sites so we can present them into Italian. And that led to a lot of maintenance work. I will, for example, things like even maintaining the same menu, the same header and footer menu became an issue. And then we finally reached to a point where we were about to shortly, actually, it's not even live yet, but we're about to introduce probably the biggest update we've ever introduced since the creation of the company, our new user area, which led to the need of even another split of content, because some of the articles were like, hey, let's say how to buy another domain name for my account, and that had to be explained to the users of our old user area. And now with the new thing, we needed to split that again. So the thought of cloning, and another thing is that of course the new user area has a completely new design. So the thought of cloning those already 6 websites into 12 was really horrifying for me. So this is where we actually started thinking towards, we started working towards a complete rework of our knowledge base and tutorial system. And I think that it's a very good use case, because it shows some of common challenges that people struggle with when they grow their business, when they expand into different languages, and even different people managing their content. So the major challenges were, again, multiple content types, tutorials versus articles, multiple languages, English, Spanish, Italian. And we had to keep our SEO intact because we already were getting huge number of traffic for that. So what we did, basically, our new user area is an SPA, is built in React. So what we decided after a few very long meetings was to move and combine all the 6 WordPress websites that we have into a single multi-site installation. We did this in order to keep different sites, different languages as blocks within the multi-site installation. And then we combined tutorials and articles per each website into different post types under that very same installation in the multi-site system. So that was something that kept us very busy for a few months. And the main reason, one of the main reasons was to rework everything, was the need to put more order into it, to make the process of content creation more streamlined, and to make it actually easy for us to focus on creating more content for our customers, and rather than maintaining things like updates in the header and footer. So we ended with something like this on our background. I will slowly exit out of full screen so I can check whether you guys are still seeing everything. Okay, it seems to be working. We ended up with something like this. Linking all the content together allowed us to create links between different content types, especially when it comes to languages and things like the Google ref lines in the meta that are required when you support the single content into multiple languages. it is very difficult to do that when it comes to when you work with different installations of WordPress. So that was one of the reasons we combined everything into one, so we can do the links. As you can see right now on this screen, we can check whether a certain article, for example, how to install Let's Encrypt on my domain, it's already been translated by the Spanish team and the Italian team, while obviously the Spanish team hasn't yet translated an article, how to change my SiteGround email subscription preferences. That's okay here, because probably something specific for our Spanish market requires a different article. That said, we managed to add a lot more conveniences. Like when somebody writes an article in English, we can automatically notify the Spanish and Italian teams to go and translate it. Another thing that we did, the lines that you can see in green are already converted into what we call the new knowledge base. It's basically the single page application that is displayed in our user area, but I will talk about this a bit later. So half of the project was actually preparing the WordPress before rendering it. It was very challenging, because we had some old data, some old content, and it was just the perfect time to clean up everything, make all the useful linkages and all the convenient stuff that we want to. Another challenge that we faced, I mentioned again, was our SEO. So far, the new content is behind login. We've deliberately hidden it from Google, but eventually it will become the main thing, and the only version, not new, old, but the only knowledge base that we have. So we had to get all the proper content for Google. One of probably, if I'm not wrong, I think the only plugin that we use is Yoast SEO, and we're very, very happy with the plugin, and heavily rely on it for our SEO and our and the content in our pages head section. So one of the main things that we had to take care about is getting the proper meta from Yoast SEO. Unfortunately, they don't have a separate API endpoint. So we had to come up with a way to get that. I really hope that you can read this well. Basically, what we're doing here, yes, we're opening a buffer because we want to get the information without actually rendering it. We're opening a buffer. We're getting the content from Yoast SEO, and then we are returning it as a meta object in the endpoint we've registered. So one of the things that that I forgot to mention in the beginning is that when it comes to SiteGround, we have a lot of logic. It's not WordPress. SiteGround.com is not WordPress. It's a custom built application that has tons of logic in its header and footer, basically. It's not just menus, it's not just links. For example, we have things like our entire affiliate program. We have cookies, whether you're logged in our user area or not. We have your own custom preferences, whether you're a Spanish customer. By default, you see content in Spanish, but if you have manually selected English, then you have to see, let's say, things like pricing in Euro, but the language in English. And all that logic was impossible to be implemented in a standalone WordPress application. So it wasn't just design issues or stuff like that. Mostly we were losing functionality, and we were trying to mimic part of things like logins and so on, monitoring cookies. But That was a lot of work for nothing. While going headless WordPress actually allowed us to get all the content we need from WordPress and to render it within our drastically more complex structure and system that we already had in place working. So we had to split the content that we're getting from our WordPress endpoints, so we can display this piece of information as a separate object in the page's head section, not just render the whole page and just visualize it somewhere. That led to another issue similar with menus and breadcrumbs. Again, we had to do those custom. WordPress has some endpoints for menus, 0 for breadcrumbs, but we built those ourselves because we wanted to make this as light as possible without any bloated code and serving our own idea. Basically, what we're doing in the menus, we're checking whether a page has a parent. We use the default WordPress menus and we assign them to pages. But to do something that I believe is very, very nice and very smart here, we check whether the parent of a page, if it has a parent, whether the parent has a menu assigned to it. So we use it automatically. So basically, if I'm building something like, let's say, WordPress tutorial, and it has a menu, I need to assign that menu only to the parent page named WordPress tutorial. Yeah, we registered a meta box in our custom post types, so you can assign a menu to be rendered for that page. But so far, we are only doing this for the main page, and all the child pages automatically get that. That's very useful because we can still have a custom menu for some page for some reason. Let's say we can show a banner or change something for that particular page, but in case we don't need that, we don't have to manually go through that. The same goes for breadcrumbs. We are basically doing doing it ourselves, getting the parent category if there is one, and building the permalink and building the breadcrumbs, which we then render. This is the custom post type that we and our API endpoint. And I think that the most interesting part here is that at the end you can see that each different part of the post can be fetched by our SPA separately, so we can build here, place it wherever we need it. Here you can see the breadcrumbs, the custom objects, the custom properties. You can see reference for the link between a single article in English, Spanish, and Italian. You can see the menu, things like share links, titles, and of course the content. Here is a preview of our new knowledge base and how it looks as part of our new user area. As you can see in the top, you can see my very funny avatar in my personal account, and this means I'm logged in. I can see the affiliate menu because I have registered as affiliate to test it out. This is a dynamic thing. It's coming from the SiteGround framework. I'm not doing anything in WordPress to show that. Then we have what we're seeing here is a sample tutorial. Actually, it's not a knowledge base article. We have the breadcrumb generated, rendered there. Right next to it is our own AI search. I will mention it. I will speak about it later. This is not the WordPress search. Then on the right, you can see the proper menu rendered, and of course the content with titles and everything. The metadata is there too. Another thing that we found particularly useful when we did that and when we decided to go this way was the ability to show content wherever we want to. For example, again, this is our AI search that we develop. It's not the default WordPress search. What we do here is we monitor on which page you are right now, and we show you relative articles for that page. Here I have clicked something, but generally, if you're on the collaborations page, you will see the recommendation about how do I add collaborators to my account. If you're on billing, you will see suggestions under the question mark button directly fetched from WordPress, and that's a great thing because we can actually show contextual help to the pages that our customers actually needed. We can show here tutorials too. They're just marked with different icons here, for example, in related articles. So I mentioned search. We use we don't use the WordPress default search. We use something that we call our AI tool. Our AI search is maintained by our AI team. We've been maintaining and working on this for something like 2 years. It's a project. It's another big project for us, and yeah, it is. It's a better search engine that we have developed. Going headless and integrating WordPress into our SPA again allows our search engine to learn better, and allows us to teach it better. For example, if we figure out that most of the people in our billing section click on a certain article, then we rank that article higher. And we not only that, but now we can do this. Now that we have relations between different articles and different languages, people in Spain that click on a particular article can teach people in Italy, relatively spoken, can teach the search engine for the Italian user area, for the Italian language better, unless, of course, we have something that takes over precedence. But again, that's something that we couldn't have achieved without going headless. If we were still using WordPress and the default WordPress way of building things, the WordPress template agent, we would have stuck in so many places, even trying to do this. So what we have achieved, the project is about to go live shortly after we present our new user area, new product update, and all that stuff. So we're very happy with how it's turned out, and I'm very happy that we have achieved a number of things, and starting with consistency. I already mentioned that we had to manage a high number of websites, but to keep them in line. And now this is something that we don't even have to care about. Let's say we decide to add the latest post from our blog into the footer, and we update the tutorials, but we forget to update the knowledge base footer, or something changes in Spain, and they don't notify us on time. So that led to lack of consistency when it comes to certain things. In addition, design changes on the website had to be replicated each time on our different WordPress installations. Now it's very easy for us to keep a consistent design, to use the same elements over and over again. I think that a lot of the previous speakers have been talking about this, but the ability to reuse design element is generally great. And now we have a very very extensive style guide that we have been using as much as possible. The next thing that we used is, again, integrity. And what I mean about that is that we managed to have to finally get all the functionality that SiteGround's main framework has everywhere, including our knowledge base websites. That includes things like, again, logged in users information, affiliate program tracking system, and all that functionality. In addition of that, we have finally came to a position where everything is consistent, looks and feels like part of the same company. If you use, let's say, if you open a knowledge base article that's part of SiteGround, you will now get the same design, the absolutely same style as the rest of the company pages. One more thing, it's not generally part of this talk, but we've used the same approach, the same style guide when we built our plugins for WordPress for our customers. And ideally, keeping versions of our style guide and updating them will allow us to have interfaces that look the same, that say SiteGround, which is very good when it comes to integrity. It's not like having a WordPress optimization plugin that uses one design, a migration plugin that uses another design, then some sort of knowledge base articles that try to mimic the main website, and then you have the main website. We had issues with that. I'm not afraid to admit it, but going headless WordPress, building our custom endpoints and methods and rendering them the way we want under the SPA has been really productive for us. The next big thing that's very important for us and very good when it comes to building headless WordPress is security. I think that Yoast SEO is pretty much the only plugin that we have working on our knowledge base, new knowledge base and tutorial system. And it's because you wouldn't really want to develop an SEO plugin, because Yoast is a very reputable company. They have a very good and awesome team of people who constantly monitor what's changing in Google, and they constantly introduce new stuff to the plugin. So that's pretty much the only thing that we are using besides from the WordPress core. We have created our own system plugin for all the custom objects, endpoints, stuff like that, and we are using it to provide the necessary data for our single page application. So this makes it very much secure for us, because we're not reliable on the quality of code of third-party plugins besides Yoast, and we host them, so we're on the same Slack. So even if there is something, we can fix it right away, literally. Next thing is that we're practically isolating completely WordPress from what people are seeing. It's only our SPA that has access to the servers running the WordPress installation that basically renders the code. So this is another layer of isolation between the world and WordPress, which I think is very beneficial when it comes to security. So with that was my last slide, and I will happily stop sharing my screen. So
yes.
Nick,
You said you had long meetings over going into headless. What was the point of the contention and the discussion there around that?
Well, the discussion was mostly about how to approach the issues we had, like let's say how to generate URLs. it's difficult because the WordPress is not installed on my SiteGround.com, which actually renders the URLs, and we had to proxy those. We wanted to make sure that actually going headless was decided the moment we decided that we will revamp everything. The main course of questions was how to approach that first. Like, should we try to come up with an endpoint of our existing SPA that can render our functionality in WordPress, or we should just do the custom work in WordPress and then render it in the user area. So yeah, we decided the second to build everything that we need, and yeah, I hope that this answered the question.
Great, love it. Let's go to the next one. This is a great one. Could you tell us a bit more about how the AI works in your search?
Oh boy, our AI team includes a lot of very smart people, a lot smarter than me, and they did some crazy stuff with their AI. And honestly, I'm not the best person to explain how the AI works. What I know is that we provide them with basically access to our database that they can crawl right away, and we strictly give them the means to know the markup of that data, so they can know which article is in Spanish, which article is in English, and then they know the links between the different articles. So when they use their very complex algorithm to rank search results, they manage to use that data in the best possible way. So that's that. We give them all the necessary fields in the database they need. They have access to it, and then they show the results.
I love it. Maybe next year we'll have you back with an AI talk on WordPress, huh?
Oh no! I don't want to go there. It's a whole different planet there.
So true. Well, we got another good one here that you should be able to answer. By default, endpoints are not secure. How are you controlling access, and do you leave any endpoints open? Good question from Nick here.
Yes, indeed, a very good question. It's not that bad for us because all the content that we visualize is actually public. It's not. We don't have any sensible data whatsoever there. What we're doing when we launch when we will launch the user area is that we will leave available only the endpoints that we need, which are already public, and they are accessible only from the server which renders the API, the SPA. So I think that we have done the best we can in terms of securing that WordPress installation.
Love it. Okay, well, thank you again for coming and presenting. SiteGround is one of our sponsors, so please go check them out and check out their knowledge base. Crawl around it, get the experience with it. And Hristo, thank you again for all the cool work you're doing and popping out to tell us a little bit about it. Really grateful for you coming on here today.
Thanks. It's always a pleasure to see you, Zach.